Hello Stampers, this is Kate with Kate's Creations, ready to share with you another installment of my wonderful Snowflakes cards. I was determined to use them up, and you've already seen, if you have been here before, you've seen the previous video where I showed 3 different cards, and you can find that on my channel, or I can put a link in the bottom in the description. I'll try and remember to do that. But I have 3 new cards for you. But as you know, I also am a Silhouette Cameo paper cutter user and a Glowforge laser cutter user. And I've been having so much fun with my laser that now I am moving on. Last time I showed you turkeys. Today it's ornaments for Christmas. And I am going to be making these as gifts for my Bible study ladies. And it is a black on clear acrylic, and you can't really tell here, but it's clear, so when lights show up behind it, they shine through. And so I wish I thought to get a flashlight handy so I could show you, but I love it. It's got the manger scene and the angels, tells the birth of Jesus story, and it's got the scriptures, and they're fairly large. They're about a little over 4 inches around, and they're somewhat sturdy, but they're very pretty. So I'm going to be making those for gifts for my ladies. Just thought I'd share them. A set of 4. I probably will sell some as well. I don't do this as a business because I just have too much fun and I don't want to be bogged down with a bunch of orders, but I do sell a few here and there, and so it'll be fun to be able to do that. A set of 4 of these wouldn't be cheap, though. Acrylic is expensive, and so materials are somewhat expensive, but a set of 4 would be $35. But anyway, I'm not here to sell those. I just wanted to show you what I had, and now we're going to get into those cards. So, trying to use up the wonderful Snowflakes, and here we go. This is card number 1. I have the measurements and materials listed right here for you. And this is the card that we are doing. And those are just my envelopes. I'll set those aside. So it starts with the very vanilla thick base that is cut 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. We will burnish that fold, and it's going to be a side fold card like this. Let's put that over there. This layer is the Lights Aglow Designer Series paper in this beautiful gold on vanilla snowflake pattern. Isn't that just gorgeous? I just love it. Let's see if I can get some of the glare out of there. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so we are going to attach that to the front of the card, just flat. I don't know about you, but I'll tell you, when they get these designer papers with the foil accents, I lose all self-control. I just have to have them. It's so cool. Let's make sure I put this on the right side of the card. And here we go. And this, like I said, is cut 4 1/4 by 5.5. No. Yes, because I want it to cover the whole front. So I did say that right. 4 1/4 by 5.5. And we are setting it down to cover the entire front of the card. Just like that. Then from that same set of Lights Aglow, here's this lovely cherry cobbler and vanilla with the stars and kind of like snowflakes and stars. And so I'm going to use that for the side piece. It is cut 1.5 by 5.5. So it's going to go down the side, as you can see from the sample. Not really difficult here, just fun. And as you can see, I didn't cut that off at 5.5. It's a little too long, so let me get my scissors here. You know, it is 6 by 6 paper, and so we'll just trim it. Not a big deal. Okay, we'll get that out of the way. And then what I did for the snowflakes. The wonderful snowflakes are on one side a very pretty iridescent, but on the other side they were just flat white. And so I turned them over and I took out a discontinued gold ink pad. It's a pigment ink pad that Stampin' Up! Used to sell, and every once in a while, even though it's been discontinued, every once in a while I want some silver or gold, so I have kept it. I'm sure if you're an avid stamper, you probably have that, but let me tell you, on a card that I'm going to be doing next, I embossed these, and so you could do that with embossing powder if you had that, and that's not a discontinued item, so just so you know. Now, one of them is going to go right here in the center, and I am just sticking them down flat. This other one is going to get cut in half, and I am following from this one that has, let's see if I can get it here, this little tip right here to the same one on the other side, and I am just cutting with my scissors right down the center of that little piece, and it's very fragile. You got to be careful, but we're gonna here I'm trying to get through the whole thing. I didn't have this much trouble the first time I did it. And it's going to leave these funky little pieces. I'm going to trim them off. Can you see that? See that little piece right there? That's that half of that loop. I'm just trimming them off, right? Even with that next little piece. So it looks like that. Hope that's visible for you. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to cut off these little tabs on each end. And that will be the piece that does the split from the top half and the bottom half. Now, I didn't put glue on these. I just did glue dots. And so, because they are also flat, and so I will just put a glue dot in the center of this one. And I'm going to put a glue dot on this one, and it's a little bit wider, so just kind of fold it over on itself, or wad it up, or wrinkle it up, or whatever. And then it won't be bigger than the piece you're trying to attach, because you don't want that sticky sticking out. And let's just put that on here. So let's see, let's do this one. Just like that. And then one down here, centered on that vanilla piece, just like that. And this one up here, the same way. Just like that. And then I also stamped the greeting, which came from the Brightest Glow stamp set, I believe. Let me make sure I did that right. I don't want to mislead you. Yes, it came from that, and stamped with cherry cobbler, and I'm going to attach it with dimensionals, just like this. Like that. I put 3 of them on there to support it nicely, and then it's going to go over the top of that center. Then I also saved a piece of this cherry cobbler, and I am going to put it on the inside of the card just to kind of carry the theme into the inside of the card. And it's going to be too long also. I'm going to have to trim it off, but it's a 1/2 inch wide, and it would be 5 1/2 to fit the card. But because I didn't cut off that last 1/2 inch, I have to do it that way. And there's card number 1. Now, if you're concerned about it staying stuck, you could add a dab of glue behind these, and I may go back and do that, but I think it's a beautiful card. Okay, card number 2. Let's put that up here. Okay, for card number 2, here it is. I used the Frosted Flurry dies, and it was the smallest snowflake. And hopefully my snowflakes are still here. There they are. Okay. So let me tell you what I did here. As I said, if you don't have gold or silver ink, but you have gold or silver embossing powder, you could emboss these snowflakes. I turned them over so that it was the plain white, not the flurried side, the iridescent side. And I put them onto my Versamark ink pad and just pressed it really good into the ink pad. Just really, really good. Then I put it in my kit and got the powder on it and heat embossed them. And I did both of them that way. And I really couldn't find in my cardstocks, in my specialty papers, I've got silver, but it was too bright with this. So I went ahead and took another piece of just plain basic white, 2 1/4 inches square. I put it down on my Versamark, got it coated really well, put powder on it and embossed the whole thing, and then used it to cut out the small snowflakes that I will be using. And I had 4 of them here. One has walked away. Oh, here it is. One has walked away. There it is. So that tells you what I did to get that silver so it all looks the same. And it's just kind of a muted silver, but it's just still shiny. I really like it. When you're drying it, it will start to bend a little bit like this, which actually works out in your favor because you can see how it kind of cups. Because then when you put it down on the card, the edges all stay exactly where you want them, especially if you don't bend your piece. There you go. So the base card is Petal Pink. Trying to do some unique colors for Christmas. Christmas doesn't always have to be red and green and blue, but so here's Petal Pink base card, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, burnished with the bone folder. It's going to be a top fold card. This is the DSP, and this came from the Abigail Rose Designer Series papers. Petal Pink Strawberry Stripes. This is 2, yep, it's a little bit wider than 2, isn't it? 2 by 5.5. And it is going to go on flat, oopsie, across the card. And I didn't try to center it from top to bottom. A little off center is good. I think it adds more interest to the card. And then I cut a piece of basic white, 3 1/4 by 6. And I used the Wintry 3D embossing folder that has the snowflakes. And we'll get that so you can see them. Yeah, there you go. And I am going to cut them. It's already 3 1/4 wide. I'm going to cut each one of these 1 1/4 wide. And it doesn't really matter which end you start with, but I did try, oh, that's my scoring. What I did is I did keep them in order. So when they go on the card, the design flows from one piece to the other. It's not so critical when they're spread out apart from each other like they are on this card, but if you were putting them close together, it really makes a difference. And so we'll save that piece for later. Bring this one back in, and so keeping them in order, these 3 pieces will go on here like this, and they're also going on flat. I started with the center one because I wanted to just basically center it from side to side. And then it's centered from top to bottom on the yep, that's the way it goes. Then it'll be easy for me to space the other 2 pieces because I'm working from the center. And I'm just going to evenly space it. So I've got about the same amount of distance between the end and the next piece. Then I'll do the same with this one. Like that. And there's those. Then again, these are just going to be put on with glue dots, all of these. Yeah, I'll get my pokey tool here. So I'll put one in the middle of that one. One in the middle, make sure I got the right side. Yeah, kind of got embossing on both sides of that one, but that's okay. And then I want one for each of these little ones. And these little ones, I'm wadding that up into just a little tiny knot so that it'll fit right in the center of that little tiny snowflake. And so then it's just a matter of placing them. And of course, this can be of your choosing where you want to place them, but this is how I did it. Put one down there and one up there, just making sure to keep it within the boundaries of the card. And then attaching the extras. And this is where I wanted the silver to match. So that's why I just ended up embossing all the pieces. And it wasn't that hard to do. And other than the fact that my heat gun is giving me grief, I think it's got a loose wire or something inside, and so it chooses not to work sometimes. I'm going to need it for the next card, so I'm hoping it's not going to give me grief, but we'll find out. And I'm going to put one over here. And then I used the 1 3/8 inch circle die from Layering Circles to cut out a piece of petal pink. I stamped the word joy, which came from Merriest Moments, and I did that with Versamark and embossed it with silver embossing powder as well. This I am going to put on with a dimensional. Just like this. And I'm just setting it right down in here. And then I have one more little snowflake that I cut out, so I'm going to put it on there. Put that little glue dot all wadded up right there, and I'm attaching it to my joy piece there. And there's card number 2. I think it turned out really lovely. Okay, card number 3. Let's get the measurements up there for that. We'll put those up there so they won't blow away here. And this is card number 3. Now, to do this one, it starts with a Starry Sky base card. Again, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. It's going to end up being a top fold greeting card. That's noisy. Then I cut a piece for the front, and there's 2 pieces here, basic white. This first one is 5 1/8 by 4, yes. And so it leaves this border all the way around. What did I say? Yes, 4 by 5 1/4. Sorry, get those right. That piece right there. And so that's layer 1, and it's just going on flat, just like this. And like I say, I'm going to leave that border all the way around, just like that. And then the next piece is also basic white, and it is cut 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And we used to have foam brayers, and that's what I'm going to be using. It's a tool that we had in the past. I don't think they're still available. They might be. I can't remember, to be honest. And I'm using Starry Sky ink. I love these things. They leave such a beautiful, soft tone behind when you use them. I'm going to ink it up really good. You got to kind of go one way, because if you go back and forth, you're just going to end ink in one spot. So you got to kind of draw it back and forth like this, get it inked up well, and then we're going to just start rolling it across. And I try not to stop, and I try to start off the edge of the paper and go all the way across. Otherwise, you kind of end up with these stop marks or start marks that are darker than everything else. So I try not to do that. and I just keep going, oopsie, until I get the color what I want it to be. And it's getting there. I'm going to turn it around so I can get the other side. And I liked the streaks of color. I liked that it had some dark spots, some light spots. That just really didn't bother me at all. And I'm happy with that. I think that's a beautiful color. Now, this is going to go on the front of the card. But before I do that, I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas with Versamark ink. And we're going to emboss if my embossing gun will start. Yay, it did. Okay. It's been a little persnickety. So, don't forget the embossing kit is in the catalog. It's this tray and an embossing buddy. And you need that. You need this embossing buddy because it's what keeps you from leaving behind embossing powder where you don't want it. And so we're going to just do this because that it might even still be a little bit wet and I don't want it to stick to it. And there's our Merry Christmas. The Merry Christmas came from the Brightest Glow stamp set. These trays are so handy. I have these little scoops I got. They're science scoops, science experiment scoops, and they come in pretty handy. Okay, there's that. Let's get that embossed on here. I wanted it to show up. Could have stamped it with the pigment white stamping pad, but I was afraid it just wouldn't show up real well. So this does definitely show up really well. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's handmade. Okay, we're going to attach this to the front of the card. Again, it goes on flat with the Stampin' Seal. And I did the embossing before I put it on the front of the card because the heat does have a tendency to make your card wrinkle just a little bit. And I wanted it, and then when I stick it down, it'll make it lay flat. So we'll bring that back in so you can see it again. And we'll put this on here. And this is only going to leave a 1/16 of an inch border, a narrower border. And there we go. Just like that. And then here's the lovely, wonderful snowflake with its beautiful iridescent color. I put it on with a dimensional. Unbury my dimensionals. And like I said, it fits perfectly on the back if you lay it down carefully. And I stuck that right like that. And then, there they are, the smallest of the rhinestones. And I just added rhinestones. And this guy wants to curl up. I'm going to give him a little bit of help to make him lay down better. I'm wrinkling him the other way. There. Okay, and then I just took these really small rhinestones and I used a bunch. I don't know how many. You can do it by taste. Whatever looks good to you. You might be happy with 4 or 5. You might need 8 or 10. Who knows? And just like little stars. So this nice big snowflake. I don't know about you guys, but I love snow. And yeah, I know it's hard to get around in sometimes, and for people that have to work or get to work in it, I'm sorry. But I love snow. I love snow so much that I have a journal, a scrapbook that I have scrapbooked snow. Some people scrapbook families, I scrapbook snow. So there's that, and there's card number 3. So I hope you enjoyed today's cards. I think they're lovely. I hope you do too. I invite you to leave me a comment. I love comments. So here is card number 1. Card number 2. and card number 3. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. And thank you again for stopping by. You have a wonderful day.